Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hello there! In this video, I will make some announcement about YARUI and the new features in this version. First of all, regarding the price. When I released it for the first time, I set the price at $14. Then, about a week later, I dropped it to $10. And finally, after some consideration, I dropped the price once again to $5. There's no catch here, and this is a permanent price. I know I have promised before about dropping it to $3 when it reaches 400 sales, but anyways, I want to drop the price right now. So enjoy this unlimited offer from $14 to $5, which is almost 3 times cheaper. However, I really feel bad for this guy that have purchased my add-on for $11. If you're that guy, you can ask me for a refund through Gumroad, and I will process that. And thank you for being the first customer of YARUI. Okay, that's enough for the announcement. Now, let me introduce you to the new features of YARUI that come in version 3. Previously, the version 2 only contained a hotfix about some crash, but in version 3, I introduce you sparse rendering. So, what is it? In the previous version, frame interpolation is only capable of multiplying or adding your animation FPS. This works well if you don't want to tweak your existing keyframes or add new ones. For example, if your animation has 24 FPS, then YARUI will only render those and multiply or interpolate it to 96 FPS. This sure saves a lot of your time compared to rendering the whole frames of 96 FPS. So, in short, multiply FPS saves your time by not requiring you to render all the frames to get your desired FPS. Seems perfect, right? It saves your time perfectly. But then, what if you already have high FPS and wanted to save your time? Or you don't want to multiply your FPS, but want to achieve a faster render process? That's where the limitation of multiply FPS is. That's why I implemented this new feature. Since multiply FPS will increase your FPS, we can call it forward interpolation. While sparse rendering, we can call it backward interpolation. So how does it work? How does it save your time? Sparse rendering won't modify your animation FPS. It will keep it the same as the original. Sparse rendering will take your frames, then only render the portion of it. And the amount of original frames that will be rendered by YARUI depends on your choice. For example, 1/2 factor will remove half of your original frames. Then YARUI will only render those and fill those frame gaps with interpolation. And there you have it. Sparse rendering won't change the number of frames or your animation FPS in the final output and still achieve a faster render process. But remember, if you watch my previous video, there's also the concept of trash in equals trash out here. Since sparse rendering will remove your original frames to fill it with YARUI interpolation, it could produce some artifacts if there's not enough original frames for the model to understand the motion. As the factor decreases, the number of original frames reduces while the interpolated frames increase significantly, and the render time also decreases significantly. If your animation contains a high-speed motion, I won't recommend going for a lower factor. That's why 1/2 factor is good enough if you want to save your render time, since it could save about 50 to 90%. But of course, you can test it first and see if the output looks good or not, especially if time really matters for you. And I recommend doing it. The test, I mean. And of course, sparse rendering can be used with upscaling simultaneously, so you can save your render time with multiple YARUI features. But sparse rendering won't be available in the process existing frames workflow since it won't make any sense. And it also can't be used together with multiply FPS. You have to pick one of them. But then you may ask yourself, does that mean I won't be able to increase or multiply my animation FPS if I use sparse rendering? The answer is no. It's possible, just in a different workflow. In that case, use the process existing frames. Since sparse rendering will place your final frames in this folder, just use this as an input. But remember to use the last one since it contains all the original and interpolated frames. And then select your desired multiplier. Just like that, YARUI will increase your animation FPS with ease. And by now, there's 3 features to save your render time. First, upscale, then forward interpolation, lastly, backward interpolation. Combining all these 3 together, you can save your render time much higher than before. But of course, I also bring you the test result. Here, I'm using the previous flower animation project. You can try to spot the difference side by side between original versus YARUI results. And that is, guys, for this video. If you don't understand or are still confused, feel free to ask through comment or my Discord server. Thank you, and cheers!